Hello everyone and welcome to a presentation of the new GMDH Streamline feature. And this presentation is available for partners only because as usual, we want you to be prepared for this feature actually on the market. And at the same time, I'm really happy to say that today, actually, the number of partners who are registered for this event is twice bigger than it was last time, which means that we are growing. Our community is becoming bigger, and it's wonderful. Congratulations, actually, to everyone who's joining us first time. Welcome. And again, for those who are with us first time, I really want you to know that a partnership and our partners, actually, it's a part of our strategy. We invest a lot in educating our partners' education. We invest a lot in our partnership. We make sure that you receive all information in time, that you are prepared before everything is actually coming to market from Streamline. And I'm really happy to introduce this new feature, which is actually economic order quantity. And its main focus, of course, is to increase our end users and client profitability. As you know, the main focus of Streamline is to make sure that our clients and your clients increase their profits, their profitability constantly with us. And more about this beautiful feature, we'll see over today's speaker, Dr. Koshulko, who is one of our leading business analysts, and he's also co-founder at GMDH Streamline. So Alex, stage is yours, and definitely I'm here to support.
Natalie, thank you very much for this beautiful introduction. Hello, everyone. It's nice to have you all on today's session. And the session is about economic order quantity, a new feature in Streamline. Currently, the feature is available as a preview package of Streamline. You'll get the download link for the preview package after the webinar, and you'll be able to test it out for yourself, your data. And yeah, let's start. In the last few months, we've got a number of a lot of requests from prospective customers as well as existing customers to implement economic order quantity. And as our community grows and the number of customers increasing, we connect with larger companies every year, and this year we started to work with with companies that need EOQ for their operations, more than mid-sized or small businesses. And really, EOQ is a very important concept in supply planning. And I just want to make sure it's important for you. Could you please, if you use economic order quantity in your consulting services, if you calculate EOQ for your customers, could you please post a plus into chat?
We have a lot of confirmations, actually.
Oh, that's great. Okay, but that's definitely only a fraction of our today's participants, so not everyone. And that's okay as well. So it's a good time to give it a try to experiment with optimization using EOQ, since you'll have it in Streamline. And yeah, let's start with the presentation. So our agenda for today is about classic and simple EOQ, then about unique features that Streamline adds to EOQ. I'll quickly demo the feature in Streamline. Then we'll go through the differences between EOQ and order cycle, and how these two concepts complement each other. And as a conclusion, we'll speak about value of EOQ for a number of replenishment strategies, and then we will have Q&A session. So first topic is what is economic order quantity? And I think everyone is familiar, but just to remind you about the definition, economic order quantity is a replenishment method that decreases total costs, holding and ordering costs. And if we look at the plot, we could see holding costs are increasing if we purchase more, ordering costs are decreasing when we purchase larger batches, and especially because, well, there are a number of reasons for that. That includes, first of all, transportation costs that are decreasing for larger batches, and also purchasing costs because larger batches cost less. And what we discovered is that companies speak about these three basic needs. They want to use EOQ to reduce holding and ordering and also transportation costs. There is a huge problem with calculating EOQ for seasonal products, as simple EOQ method takes demand as constant level. And there is a huge problem for many companies to calculate EOQ for a group of products, because when we issue a purchase order, we usually have a number of SKUs, a number of products in that order, and calculating EOQ for each product doesn't help to understand EOQ for the whole purchase. Again, the simple and classic EOQ calculation is based on annual demand, cost per order, value of items, and inventory carrying costs or holding costs. And of course, the larger the value of items, the smaller quantity this formula will recommend to purchase, and the higher demand we have, the larger quantity will be recommended by this formula. Unfortunately, it doesn't take into account seasonality. So our EOQ during low period will be completely different actually from the EOQ during high period for a product. And if we look into a handbook, all the limitations of the simple EOQ model are well known. And for instance, EOQ is calculated per SKU. Demand forecast is constant. That's our assumptions and also limitations for the simple EOQ calculation. Replenishment lead times are constant. Demand will be satisfied by quantity ordered, and cost per unit for purchasing and transportation remains the same, no matter what quantity is purchased. So it doesn't take into account discounts. And we started with the first two. So we resolved the first two in our implementation of EOQ. And the next two are not really issues for Streamline because we calculated dynamically, and there's no need to create a plan for all changes of lead times for the future periods. We can see the current EOQ every time we issue a purchase order, so it's kind of resolved as well. Cost per unit that differs based on discount we get is something we are going to implement in the future. So currently, if you get a discount purchasing larger batch, it's not yet implemented in Streamline, but that's on our roadmap. Okay. So what we did in Streamline? Well, the values that Streamline brings as a technology largely depends on the way how we recommend to purchase. Streamline works with groups of items, and by design is very efficient when you need to optimize a number of items. That's how we purchase. We purchase a number of items from a supplier. And while many other techniques offer to purchase once you get a reorder point, once you get a reorder signal, and those signals can happen anytime, not at the time when you purchase. In Streamline, all the reorder points are synchronized, and reorder points happen at the time when you have your next planned purchase. So Streamline synchronizes reorder signals across all items that we purchase from one supplier, or synchronizes items across suppliers. And that was the first step toward EOQ, group EOQ optimization. So Streamline simply built upon its ability to purchase in groups of items and added the ability to suggest the right quantity from the economic standpoint. So in our groups, we can provide the right synchronization barrier that minimizes costs rather than provides certain numbers of days of supply that was implemented initially. So now you have an ability to choose between purchasing, let's say, 30 days of supply and purchasing economically efficient size. Let's say that can be one container, or that can be less than one container for expensive items. And I will show you in the demo how that works and what is the difference between periodic purchasing available in Streamline and EOQ purchasing. So Streamline recommends the best order cycle for your current purchase. So previously you were able to only set it manually. Now it's recommended automatically. And this is not something, seasonal products, assessing seasonal products is not something that Streamline does uniquely, but this calculation is, quite complex for Excel, and Streamline simply reproduces one of the known algorithms for calculating EOQ for seasonal products. Yeah, so what we have unique about Streamline is how we calculate group EOQ. So we do not look at the individual item EOQ. We look at the purchase order and recommend the number of days of supply that we purchase for each and every order, and it's efficient economically. So after we reviewed what was implemented, let's take a look how it works. So I opened our built-in project into Streamline windows. Let's take a look at this sample project first. So this is a sample company built into Streamline. It sells consumer goods, fashion, food, pharmacy, everything. So it's a sample company. And it does around 200 million annually. And if we look at the inventory side, we could see a number of products, a number of suppliers. And for these suppliers, we configured container IDs. So each supplier is supplied or transported into a single container. So all items of one supplier travel in one container. Let's take a look at the container configuration. We created a default container size, so you can configure containers independently for each supplier, but you also have default settings. So as default settings, we specified ordering cost for one container as $1,500, and quantity, maximum quantity we can transport in one container as 50,000. That's not very realistic, but it's close to reality, because I just don't want to go through volume and weight calculations, and we specified quantity, maximum quantity that we can load to one container as 50,000. Think of it as bottles, for instance. For bottles, you often understand the quantity you can load to one container. And our inventory holding costs for this company is 20% annually. So annual interest rate for this company or holding cost is 20% annually. And many companies have annual holding costs between 20 and 30%. So inventory is very expensive, actually. Okay. Well, and in this project, in this sample project, we order once a month and top up containers to purchase in full containers. So let's see how this works. So here is this project, and well, it worth to mention that Streamline has a built-in tool called Time Machine that allows us to roll out events on our timeline and see how our supply chain will look like in the future. So this is, so to say, a virtual ERP system inside Streamline that executes purchasing recommendations, shows us future on-hand quantities, orders in transition, open sales orders, open purchase orders, and so on. So this allows us to test out any strategy that we set up in Streamline. So I'll open the time machine and a dashboard, and I want to simulate 30 days of demand. And then I'll go to another project and let it purchase in economic order quantities. So I, instead of purchasing once a month, I'll let it purchase in economic order quantities, even every day if needed. But we will see that it's not going to purchase every day, of course, because economic order quantity recommends us larger quantities. Let's take a look what this recommends. I should probably start with showing you how we recommend purchasing in full containers first. So I'll go to planned orders, export it. Okay. So let's check. For this first supplier, we purchased 3 items, and the quantity in total that we purchase is here, almost 50,000. That's because we specified that in one container we can transport 50,000 units. If we look at another supplier, this one, for instance, the sum for it will be again close to 50,000. For this one, we purchased 2 containers because it doesn't fit into just one. Our demand is larger than 1 container. That's why we purchased 2 containers. For next one, we purchase 50,000. And for the last one, again, close to 50,000. And that's how purchasing in full containers work in Streamline. Let's see what economic order quantity would say about our purchase. I'll go to settings and allow it purchasing more frequently. And planned orders, export. The first supplier with 3 items, and Streamline tells us to purchase 46,000 out of 50, because these items are quite expensive. Let's take a look at these 2, for instance, and Streamline again recommends to purchase 45. And what about this one? 45. Here it is. 38. So we purchase frequently, but our container is not fully loaded because our items are expensive. So we spend more on transportation costs, but we run with lower frozen capital. Let's see how this converts into profits, because profits is what we earn less what we spend, and holding costs is significant part of our spendings. Yeah, let's check it once again. So yeah, we allowed economic order quantities. We have container cost. We have holding costs. So we can start simulation. Okay. So here we see our holding costs for a 3-month simulation, ordering costs, and total costs. And if we compare that to periodic purchasing, we could see that here we have total costs 750,000 and here 550,000. So by enabling EOQ, we saved this company $200,000 in only 3 months, which is a worthwhile result. So economic order quantity really is very useful technique. Okay, now let's go back to our demo, our presentation, and again speak about how we calculate that, and what is the difference between the EOQ and how the EOQ calculated in Streamline differs from classic techniques.
Alex, can I actually respond to 2 questions we have?
Okay.
Just don't want to have like too much of them. So is it possible to relate the EOQ calculation to the product profitability? It was the first question, but it looks like you have already responded to that with your actual examples. And the second one is, what about when the transportation cost is very low because of a local delivery?
Yeah, that means we can deliver as frequently as possible. Probably, let's consider extreme case when really transportation is not expensive. Then, an extreme case is when we purchase 1 box every day, and then these boxes arrive every day, and our frozen capital will be minimum. In practice, usually it's not possible because you have minimum lots from suppliers and other constraints. But of course, purchasing more frequently is beneficial unless we have truck cost, container cost that doesn't allow us to purchase too frequently.
Okay, thank you. We also have questions from Ekarat, but he's asking and responding to them himself. So Ekarat, I'm happy that you understand everything. And we have a question from Bob Forshi. Can you also include container availability constraints?
Container availability constraints. What kind of constraints is this container availability? Like by period? Well, in Streamline, we have a schedule for ordering availability. And if this might be just the same as container availability. So you can uncheck weeks or months when the container is not available, and that will trigger recalculation of the whole plan in Streamline.
Bob, please let us know if it's clear. because we have one more comment from you. So just let us know if you need to elaborate this question. And right now we also have from Akarat, can we put different transport costs for different suppliers?
Well, Streamline loads in your default supplier, and depending on what supplier you're going to use this time, it'll calculate the respective EOQ. Comparing two suppliers is not possible in Streamline at the moment.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks. Let's move forward.
So how does Streamline calculate the group EOQ? And it's based on the synchronization mechanism that we have in Streamline. So we synchronize reorder points of all items of one supplier, and that gives us a certain number of days of supply. For periodic strategy, replenishment strategy, you simply set order cycle, let's say to 30 days, and you'll have your reorder signals every 30 days synchronized. But that is not optimal from economic standpoint. So we move that synchronization barrier back and forth and find the lowest total cost, and that allows us to find the economic order quantity for a group of items. So sometimes we purchase 25 days of supply, sometimes 35 days of supply, and that depends on many factors, like what demand we have the next month or for the next period, what transportation costs, lead times, and other parameters we have currently. And yeah, basically that's how Streamline resolves complexity of group EOQ calculation. So value of EOQ as a replenishment strategy can be split onto different business cases. And classic EOQ, which is available in Streamline as well for min-max strategy, for instance, can be used when we replenish stores from our distribution center. And despite reorder points may happen at any time, we can transfer needed goods from our distribution center to our stores anytime because it's our distribution center. So classic EOQ, which is also available in Streamline for individual items and min-max strategy, can be used for distribution center and stores. But the group EOQ, which works in conjunction with order cycle constraint and container size, can be used for purchasing of group of items. And why we still bind all this to the number of to the order cycle? From our standpoint, it's useful to not let the EOQ to purchase every day. So if a company policy is purchasing, let's say, every week, we can set the reorder cycle to 7 days and ensure we're purchasing once a week or less frequently, depending on EOQ. And EOQ tells us if we should purchase a full container or maybe half container. And by the way, we also have in roadmap to add containers of different sizes so that Streamline could choose the right container size for each case based on our purchasing recommendation. Well, so to conclude, EOQ implemented in Streamline is good for distribution center to stores transfers and for purchasing of seasonal products from suppliers. And for that we use EOQ on top of order cycle and container sizing mechanism. So that's all. If you still have any questions, you're welcome.
Yes, we do have questions. So we have a question: is it possible to relate the EOQ calculation to the product profitability? We have to elaborate on this one.
Okay, profitability is the total. Well, in Streamline we have calculation of margin in percentage and in percentages, and Streamline reduces that percentages if we have higher holding costs. But really relating to profitability, I would recommend running this analysis with Time Machine for company data to simply simulate what would be the difference in profitability if we use EOQ and simply use periodic strategy for purchasing.
Thank you. Next one, about the container question, about the container availability. If we have to change the box container for a period, changing the, I believe it's quantitative product per box, is it possible to set up it at Streamline?
Quantity of, yeah, in Streamline you have container sizes per container ID. Let me show you. And you can create different containers and then specify, so you have different container IDs with different parameters. Then you select a certain number of items and you specify container ID, so you can change container size used for transportation of products from one supplier.
Thank you so much. Another question: the group economic order quantity is balancing transport cost and holding cost 20%.
Well, usually companies have like 20 to 30% holding costs, and Streamline balances any annual rate of holding costs with transportation costs. So depending on the balance between these two costs, you'll purchase in more or less.
Thanks.
A breakdown of these percentages. Is this the question we were answering right now? I just opened the chat window. I'm sorry.
Actually, I'm not sure actually about your question. So
Okay.
right now we're answering question of accurate, which was a little bit before. So it was
okay. Fine.
Okay. Okay, let's move forward. Let's move forward because so many questions, easy to get lost. Okay, can we put different transport costs for different suppliers? We were responding to this one already. From Mario, as I understand, it is possible to define the order cycle for each product, as it means I can use economic order quantity just for certain products.
Right. Yes.
Okay, from Jihad, can you please explain what is meant by synchronization?
If we look at min-max strategy, when we reach out to the reorder point, we get a reorder signal, and those signals are not synchronized across supplier. So different products or one supplier may raise the reorder signal this week, next week, today, tomorrow. It's not systematic. It's not. It's random basically. And what Streamline does, it looks at your reorder points and purchases in days of supply. So when you place an order with Streamline, you are purchasing a number of days of supply, and Streamline tries to purchase the same number of days for each product in the purchase order. So if we issue an order to a supplier, we are purchasing 30 days of supply of one item and 30 days of supply of another item. As a result, next time we purchase, our reorder point happens almost at the same time for all products of one supplier. So that's how synchronization works in Streamline.
Beautiful. Thank you for this explanation. One more question, just to confirm Streamline's methodology. Streamline is doing simulation like Excel solver, correct?
It's a discrete event simulation. That means we have a timeline. We start rolling out events on our timeline. We have events like arrivals, shipments, demand numbers for the period. We collide everything, and as we roll out this timeline, we are able to say what inventory level we have at that period. So Streamline simply puts all recommended orders onto our timeline automatically. So it works as a virtual ERP system and closes this cycle. So Streamline recommends orders, orders go to our timeline and will be executed at the right time. And again, Streamline sees the situation with current open POs, SOs, and based on that recommends new orders when time comes to make a new purchase. So Streamline simulates interaction with an ERP system and quickly rolls out the timeline ahead. And you can even roll out 1 year ahead. You can press that button multiple times and simulate 3 months of events every time and see how your supply chain will look like in the future and how your parameters inserted in different places in settings will perform in the future. And if you see, for instance, shortages, you can understand that your safety stock strategy is not reliable. You need to increase your safety stock, for instance.
Thank you so much. Alex, can you show me how to do classic economic order quantity that is used for DRP?
Classic economic order quantity in our presentation. Here it is. So this is a classic formula. It assumes you have constant demand. You take annual demand, cost, value of items, inventory carrying costs, and using this formula, you calculate the quantity. The problem with this formula is that many items are seasonal, and then it doesn't work properly.
Thanks. One more question. Activating economic order quantity happens only by changing the order cycle, right?
To activate EOQ, you need to specify costs, container cost and holding costs as annual interest rate, and it starts working. But also you need to reduce your minimum order cycle to 1 day to give it full freedom, or perhaps reduce it to 7 days to ensure you're not going to purchase every day in case you have very small container size and huge demand. But that would be, of course, extreme case.
Thanks. Let's move forward. Minimum lot size is perhaps a variable to be considered in the order. Can it replace container size in the calculation or be also taken into consideration?
Whose question is this? I need to read it once again.
Okay, Alexandra, actually it's in our QA.
Okay, because we have 2 chat windows, right? Okay.
We have chat and we have QA.
Yeah. Minimum lot size is perhaps a variable to be considered. Minimum lot size in the order, of course. Can it replace container size in the calculation or be also taken into consideration? Minimum lot size in Streamline can be accounted or included into calculation as individual per item constraint, or we also have minimum lot for a group of items. And minimum lot is usually about quantities, while container may optimize your total weight, volume, But in Streamline, we even create containers and groups similarly. So containers and virtual groups are created here. And for groups, you'll have group ID, minimum weight, volume, quantity, and minimum cost. And that can be used for as minimum lot, as your minimum lot. So yeah, minimum lots may replace to some extent the containers, but properties are a little bit different for containers and minimum groups. Because minimum group means we can purchase less than this minimum lot. And in case of containers, we can't purchase more than one container. We should then decide if we want to purchase, for instance, one or two containers. So properties behavior is different, but principles are the same.
Okay, thank you. Let's move forward. Sometimes the clients request explanation of the inventory carrying rate of 20 to 30%. Can you describe the breakdown of these percentage?
20 to 30% means you spend on to cost of money, cost of warehousing, insurance, labor, and there can be many other costs associated with holding cost. But for different companies, that would be, of course, a different proportion of these costs.
Thank you. And how do we handle into the economic order quantity calculation when the inbound transportation is paid by supplier, not by client?
Okay, how do we handle into the EOQ calculation when the inbound transportation is paid by the supplier, not by the client? When it's paid by the supplier, it usually means they have minimum lot, and they are not gonna. Well, it's if it's a container by container. If it's simply any quantity, who cares? You don't need containers in Streamline that. You simply purchase the quantity you need to satisfy a certain demand, and you can run EOQ even without containers, actually. That's where classic EOQ can work out, and Streamline implements classic EOQ for min-max strategy as well.
Thank you so much. Actually, it looks like we don't have more questions, guys. If you do have, please ask. No, of course we have. Thank you, Cassio. And no worries about Portuguese words. Everything's fine. We are a very international company. Alex, thanks for the explanation. Is Streamline able to alert when we have economic order quantity over the warehouse stock capacity?
Warehouse capacity is not part of the constraints in Streamline, so you can see the volume or weight you're purchasing in total, but there's no connection to warehouse size.
Thanks, Alex. Okay, it looks like we have more questions. Will the webinar recording be available to share? Of course. Again, for those who are first time with us, usually we do have recordings, and this session is being recorded right now, so you will receive it. I believe in a couple of days in a follow-up letter, you will receive this recording, you will receive PDF version of presentation, and you will receive article too. So all necessary information you will receive. We prepared everything for you. So of course, guys, you will have everything. Definitely. You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. Okay, Alex, it looks like actually everything was absolutely clear. Right now we have no more questions. And I'm happy to see that we are in time as usually. So again, for those who are first time, we never have sessions longer than 60 minutes because we do respect your time. Thanks for coming, actually. Alex, would you like to comment?
I would like to just thank everyone for coming, and I see great interest to EOQ optimization in general on the market, and hopefully your clients will benefit from this technique soon as you'll be using EOQ in Streamline. So I'm wishing everyone new clients, new implementations, and lots of economy for your clients and increased profitability.
Thanks, Alex. We do have a small question. When will it be ready? So when will it be available?
We'll send a link to this beta implementation shortly, and we are going to improve user interface for this feature during the next week or maybe 2 weeks, and release it publicly then.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Thanks for this comment, Alex. It's very important because, I'm sure that partners are ready to inform their clients about this possibility. So thanks for bringing this feature to us before it is officially released. It's really, really, really important for us. Guys, thanks again, everyone, for coming. Thank you for your nice, beautiful comments. Thanks for your time. Thanks for questions, thanks for interest, and of course, thank you for being our partners. Thank you for staying with us. And with some of you, I will meet today, with some tomorrow, with some next week. So actually, see you soon, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank you all. Have a nice day. Take care.
Take care.